like to call the meeting for November 5th to order. Sean, please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sean. Roll call, please, Cindy.
Trustee Karen.
Here.
Trustee Lindy. Here. Trustee Cook.
Here.
Trustee Cohen. Here. Trustee Alto.
Here.
President Michael.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. Ryan, thanks for joining us. I'd like to get a motion to approve. Trustee Walter is considered present and shall be a participant in today's meeting remotely. He is on a business.
We don't need a motion unless someone objects to Brian attending remotely. Otherwise, he's considered remote.
Present. Okay. All right. Okay. Any objections? Okay. Hearing none. Ryan, you are considered in attendance.
All right, I am here.
Okay. And we can hear you pretty loud here, so thank you. Okay. I'd like to open up a public hearing for the annexation agreement amendments for Hannaford Lot 59. Any comments? Okay. Close that portion. Public hearing, open up a public hearing for an annexation agreement amendment regarding Hannaford Lot number 60. Any comments? Okay. Close the public hearings on both of those. Any public comments on items scheduled for action tonight? Under the consent agenda, we have approval of the minutes for October 1st and October 15th, approval of the vouchers, ordinance amending the annexation agreement for Lot 59 and 60, ordinance authorizing an annexation agreement for Harbor Road property, an ordinance annexing property on Harbor Road property, a resolution amending the TIF professional service agreement. Under general business, we'll discuss the resolution approving the grant of water main easement, ordinance prohibiting cannabis establishments, resolution authorizing the professional service agreement for engineering services, resolution regarding the feasibility study for TIF number 2, a presentation on TIF number 2, presentation to amend TIF 2 by Keith Moran, and then approval of a placed amendment to place the TIF eligibility study on file for 10 days, and then an announcement for the tax levy. Any comments on any of those items? Okay, hearing none, close that portion. May I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion. Second.
Any request to remove an item? None? Roll call, please, Cindy.
Trustee Montalto.
Aye.
Trustee Karen.
Aye.
Trustee Lindy. Aye. Trustee Cook.
Aye.
Trustee Cohen. Aye. Trustee Baldwin.
Aye.
Motion
Thank you.
carries.
Okay. Motion carries. Motion to approve a resolution approving a grant of water main easement on the BDM property.
Motion. Second.
Any discussion? This is pretty much a cleanup, house cleaning item for something that was not done. Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Trustee Montalto.
Aye.
Trustee Karen.
Aye.
Trustee Cohen. Aye. Trustee Walter.
Aye.
Okay.
Trustee Lindy. Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, a motion to approve an ordinance prohibiting cannabis establishments.
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Okay, discussion, Heidi?
Yeah, I wanted to bring up some research I did and my thought process on this. From what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Walter, when medical marijuana came in to use, we, as a village, did not have the option to say, no, we will not allow it. We weren't able to allow it because of the zoning regulations, but but we weren't able to say no, like this ordinance for recreational marijuana. My understanding is because of the way business works, recreational marijuana and medical marijuana, there will not be any just medical marijuana dispensaries in reality. So if I say no to this, we will be saying no to medical marijuana dispensaries in our village, which we could not do before. I've done a lot of research, and I know people who take medical marijuana for fibromyalgia and other things. And we are telling citizens of Sugar Grove who might need this, per their doctor prescription, and the person I've talked to is a miracle drug for them for fibromyalgia because they're not taking all these prescription drugs that have all these other side effects. We're saying, no, we're saying you cannot come in our village. Even though you live here, you have to go somewhere else to get a prescription or to get a drug, a medicine that your doctor says you need. And I think that's wrong. And I think if it means that you're allowing recreational marijuana, which is legal like alcohol, but I think it is too great of a denial to say you can't get medical marijuana because we just don't like the status, the status it might put to the village. So I just wanted to bring that up to everyone that doing this will be saying no, which we couldn't do before, to medical marijuana.
I'd like to add something. Last meeting, and I don't mean to call anybody out, but last meeting, when you gave us your opinion, Sean, about the location, the issue came up of that you didn't like the location across from Lansing, and so therefore you wanted this drafted to opt out. I guess my question would be, is it really that? Because then we can just say that location is off the table, if that's an issue, and look at other potential locations within the village.
I believe that if we allow any other location, it won't be viable, so I might as well say no to it at all, altogether. And I don't think the question, we can separate the questions. We cannot differentiate between recreational and medical, and I think there would be a difference of opinion, at least mine, if we could.
Well, I believe the survey mentioned that, and there was an overwhelming people who prefer medical.
That's not the question before.
No, but in essence, by saying no to recreational, I've been told, and we've all heard, you're in essence, in reality, saying no to medical marijuana as well, because there isn't going to be it. And I think that is too big of a no for me. Because like I said, I know people who use it, and to be able to just say, no, you can't take medicine. We're not going to be a village that provides a medicine. You have to go somewhere else to get that.
Yeah, I don't think that's what the ordinance is saying. It's saying that we won't allow recreational.
I understand that, but we also talked about, in reality, that is saying you cannot have medical marijuana as well.
Because per the license, they're now connected.
Yeah, right. And that's not the question.
We're not keeping people from having it, we're just not selling it in our town, because unfortunately, one goes with the other. And for those of us who have lived here for 25 plus years, I mean, we've had to shop elsewhere for groceries before Jewel. We've had to shop elsewhere for hardware before Ace. We've had to shop in other communities for other things. So I don't think this is gonna put any unusual burden on people to go to Elburn if Elburn's saying it's okay to have it, to get their medicine. So I don't feel that we're doing a disservice to the people in town.
But if we had the hardware stuff, we wouldn't say you cannot come in here for the hardware. We're blatantly saying we don't like this medicine you have because people use it for other things other than medicine, so you can't come in. It's in essence, I think, kind of a judgment. And that's, like I said, it's.
I think we all looked at the negatives attached to the use of marijuana and how other, the crime statistics and things, and I don't think hardware stores track those kind of negatives, or grocery stores, or things like that.
Actually, I did find an article.
Comparing apples and oranges.
I did find an article discussing, I have several articles here on do medical marijuana dispensaries bring more crime in your area, and actually the answer pretty much is they can't really say, they don't think so, because the studies that say yes, if you studies further on, they say, well, we can't really say that because we've stepped up tremendously the policing in those areas. So the only statistics that are using are police arrests and police reports for the crime. So if you've got more police looking, you're going to get more arrests or more crimes. I also did find in there an article that said, well, you also get more crime with big box stores, you know, and it's kind of equivalent. So I have found the information, I have like 5 articles here on whether or not it brings more crime.
And I think that was the information that we got from this, forgive me if I say it wrong, Chief, the state Police Chiefs Association, when they talked about dispensaries, and they don't bring any more crime. They're a little more of a hassle, like a new Verizon store, or new store where there's a lot of traffic and buzz around it, but it fades away and you don't really notice that that's even there. I believe that's what information we got. It's not the dispensary that's the problem. And I also, if we could capture any sort of tax revenue to earmark for the police department to help combat any of these problems that are going to happen with this, because it's the use of that is going to generate problems, not the dispensary. That's not opinion. I think that giving the police department more resources with those tax dollars, I think would be a responsible thing to do, and I don't know. I think that would be the more responsible on our part.
Well, and I think when we're facing a situation where it is legal in the village and in the state, and so it will be used here, the mentality of they can go to Elburn or the 47, and they can go to Aurora and they can get it. We should be trying to provide conveniences for our town that also our residents don't have to keep leaving town. And frankly, this is my personal belief, I feel like if you're a resident of Sugar Grove and you want to buy it, you might go to Aurora and somebody from Aurora might come to Sugar Grove because they don't want to see their neighbors. I don't know. But at the same time, if it's located all around us, we're passing on that revenue where we need it. And when we talk about something else that's on the agenda tonight, you know, that's tapping into our residents' pockets for more money. This is a way, for instance, like a user fee. If you don't want to use it, don't patronize it. But somebody might want to, and we should be considering that highly, not just looking away because we don't like the use.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, hearing none. Roll call, please.
Trustee Montalto?
We're voting at this point?
Yeah, Jeff, you have it.
I would say aye. That's aye for establishing the no sale.
Trustee Cronin?
Nay.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Wendy?
Nay.
Trustee Heron?
Nay.
Trustee Walter?
Aye.
President Michaels?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Resolution authorizing a professional service agreement for engineering services for well number 10 repair.
Motion.
Second.
So this is the one that was on fire, electrical fire?
This is to do the design, engineering committee to make the necessary equipment.
Okay.
Once that's done, we'll come back to you with that proposal.
And this is just for well 10, it doesn't affect well 11?
Correct. For the plan.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Just a second.
Yeah, Rick made the first and Sean made the second.
Just still writing what you said.
Okay.
Trustee Montalto?
Aye.
Trustee Heron?
Aye.
Trustee Wendy?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Cronin?
Aye.
Trustee Walter?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Resolution providing for a feasibility study for a proposed amendment to the existing Sugar Grove TIF 2 plan and project area.
Motion.
Second.
Walter, are you doing that, or Matt? Matt, I apologize.
No, no problem. So this is, essentially a resolution fashioning that we're doing the feasibility and eligibility study of the new amended TIF district. Once this resolution is passed, this is sent to the taxing district to notify them that we're looking into that amendment. So it's basically a housekeeping that once this is passed, it will be sent, and the notification will go out to taxing districts letting them know.
Okay. Any questions for Matt? And then Keith is here, Moran, to talk about the TIF. So, well, should we finish this, take a vote, and then we'll move on to the presentation. So, roll call, please, Cindy.
Trustee Montalto?
Aye.
Trustee Hearing?
Aye.
Trustee Lindy?
Aye.
Trustee Coleman?
Aye.
One, two, three, four. Who am I missing? Oh, trustee Cook. Trustee Walter.
It's your turn.
Already written down your initials.
Thank you. All right, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, presentation, proposed amendment for feasibility study by Mr. Moran.
Great, thank you, Mayor, and thank you guys for having me again. Just by way of short intro, my name is Keith Moran. I'm president of Moran Economic Development. We're a TIF and economic development consulting firm that's assisted you guys along the way with administration of TIF and more importantly, the amendment of an existing TIF, that being the Northeast Airport TIF, otherwise known as TIF number 2. And so what we're looking at doing is doing a minor amendment to a TIF district that was established back in 2015, more or less in cleanup. And so I was just going to go through sort of the feasibility, how the area qualifies, and just talk a little bit about the redevelopment plan, and certainly answer any questions as it relates to the TIF amendment process. I should start by saying this has zero to do with anything along the interstate along those lines. This is solely, like I said, a cleanup. Actually, we're looking at amending by including about 30 parcels into this TIF. But in reality, there's probably only 6 or 7 of parcels of substance, so to speak. In fact, not only 9 of the 30 parcels are developed, and 18 are actually tax exempt parcels as well. So they're not actually generating anything by way of revenue at all currently, because they're either village owned or perhaps airport owned. And so, like I said, I can't stress enough the fact that this is a minor amendment. And like I said, that when the TIF was established back in 2015, generates probably not as much as we want, probably around, I mean, you get the freshest numbers, but the numbers I looked at were about $50-something thousand. I think this is a long-term TIF, and when it was established and designed, one of the goals straight out of your plan, which is not going to change at all, you'll hear me say that several times tonight, but was the reason this TIF got established was to establish a business park and corporate campus space. Create a campus-like setting that ensures a diversified economy, complements other types of local development, strengthens the village's tax base, and provides employment opportunities for village residents, certainly capitalizing on the transportation network, most notably the airport. And so really this amendment really just coincides with that, because the properties of substance that are being included here are a village-owned piece of ground along Heartland Lane and an additional property adjacent to it. We're also including some properties just to the south of us on Municipal Drive, and then a number of other properties out near the cafe. Like I said, some of these properties were already in a TIF. TIF number 1, we just kind of jumbled things around a little bit, give a fresher clock to allow for development to occur on the west side of this TIF district area. In fact, I do have a map that kind of explains it almost easier than I could verbally. So if anybody wants a map that kind of describes what's going on, we got our existing TIF in green, we've got the parcels that were added in blue, and parcels parcels in yellow that are also being included that were formerly in TIF number 1. In some ways, the parcels that were taken from TIF 1, 2, and incorporating them into TIF 2, our taxing districts will get the benefit of a new base value. We'll get the benefit of being able to develop that property a little bit longer, having a little bit longer time frame to develop that property. TIF number 1 was started in 2012. And so, so we got a good sense as to our area. Like I said, most of these are tax exempt or not taxed at all. Very little in the way of VAB being generated there. The other last but not least item for amending this TIF is your TIFs will then be contiguous to each other. That was one of the other goals. And it'll give you guys greater flexibility for the expenditure of TIF monies as time goes on. TIFs that are contiguous to one another, monies can be moved from one TIF to the next to help spur development one way or another. So let's say that TIF 1 needed some extra cash to help fund an improvement to an existing business or to recruit a new business. We could move monies from TIF 1 to TIF 1 to help with that expenditure and vice versa. So a little bit greater flexibility, just a few more tools in your toolbox, so to speak.
Keith, could you talk about the property that is part of the airport? That would could qualify for a TIF, but they'd have to annex that property into the village of Sugar Grove.
Correct. Any property that any city, any municipality wants to include in a TIF district has to be annexed to the corporate authorities.
Okay.
And counties can't do TIF districts, only municipalities.
Oh.
One. Very special list.
Okay.
Could you, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. The counties cannot initiate a TIF, correct? Okay, good.
It's a municipal power by large. And so, just moving forward, we can't just draw a circle in the village and say, hey, here's our TIF district. The area has to, we have to do a feasibility study. And so I won't bore you with all the details here, but I will go over how the area qualifies, which basically allows you guys to incorporate these properties into the TIF district area. We're looking for all sorts of things under the statute. And on page 11 of your booklet is sort of the summary page 11 sort of is the matrix. Basically, we've got 30 parcels that will be included in the TIF number 2, 9 of which are developed, with 12 structures on those 9 parcels. 9 of the 12 buildings are over the age of 35, which means we have to find 3 factors existing in our area for the developed parcels to qualify. We have instances of dilapidation, especially west of here, instances of obsolescence. Certainly there's some deterioration in our primary storage. Most of our storage is secondary structures along these areas. Inadequate utilities, and most of what I'm talking about there are undersized lines and some better use of right-of-way and from a utility standpoint. Lack of a community plan. For the most part, these areas did develop without the aid of a community plan. And so they just sort of developed on their own as opposed to being aided with an active master or community plan. One of the other things that we look for on those 9 parcels is how are they doing property valuation wise, and what we have is declining or stagnant equalized assessed valuations for 3 of the last 5 years. And so basically, typically that's usually your target area for TIF. I mean, and so either the area has declined in value for 3 of the 5, or it has declined in value 2 of the 5 years, and one of the other years it's not growing at a rate as to the rest of the village, meaning the balance of the village is growing at a rate more than the TIF district area, which is one of the factors that we look for. From an undeveloped standpoint, like I said, a lot of this is based on just simple cleanup of the TIF area. Some of the properties are subject to chronic flooding, which there's a map just after page 10 that outlines some of the flooding issues within that area. Who's to say whether that or not that will get developed over the next 19 years or so. But but also, the area exhibits obsolete planning. Some of the size and some of the parcels, exhibit this factor. These parcels are unlikely to be utilized properly due to their incompatibility with contemporary standards and requirements for development. The lack of community planning also described prior as part of the developed area sections contributed to this factor as well. A lot of this acreage also lacks access to right of way as well, and would require significant improvements to infrastructure in the form of road and utility extensions. When you guys grow this fast, that kind of thing is just going to happen. And also the valuation issue as well in the area. So the area pretty easily qualifies. Like I said, I can't stress enough the minor amendment to your TIF number 2 that we have. And so with that, I would just ask if there are any questions as to how the area qualifies with the feasibility that I just went over. If there aren't any questions, what I can do is I can go into the more fun parts, meaning what do you intend to do with TIF district funds, and improve some of those conditions that which we just outlined.
And then a big part of it is including the parcel to the north up by Harder and Route 47.
Yeah.
And that was annexed and would be a part of the TIF. And there's a small parcel which the village purchased to extend a road to allow access to this parcel, which we hope goes commercial through the industrial park, which would try to remove a lot of the trucks off Harder Road that might access that property. So I think that's a real impetus to get this done. Any questions for Keith on the amendment? Okay, all right, now let's get into the fun stuff.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Basically, we haven't changed anything plan-wise. Your original goals and objectives of this particular TIF remain. We have not added to the budget. We have not changed future land uses. Anything along those lines. The same goals and initiatives remain. Like I said, this is predominantly all about a business park type of, basically an employment TIF or a business park, industrial, or light industrial, commercial, airport type park. And with it, what you guys can utilize monies on moving forward are, in a lot of ways, improving a lot of the conditions that allow the area to qualify. And some of which you guys have done, but we got a number of business park public improvements. We got still some more streets, utilities, and earthwork. Back when we had about $5.4 million worth of improvements needing to be done in order to make this the type of business park campus that businesses are going to want to come to. Some of that will occur with the properties along Hartwell Drive that we're talking about. Extension of Hartwell Drive, vacation, removal, resurfacing, widening, reconstruction, and other improvements to street and alleys, pedestrian ways. Installation of traffic improvements and viaduct improvements and street lighting. Basically, where we have undersized lines, you guys can use TIF monies to put in the type of water and sewer services that are going to be conducive to business development. Certainly beautification was a part of this TIF, and you can continue the lighting and signage of public properties, and in particular enhance the Route 47 corridor, and maintain rights of way, demolition, and continue to make improvements to publicly owned land or buildings to be sold or leased. Like I said, the ability to assist taxing districts remains, as it always had in your TIF plan. Our budget remains the same.
Keith, may I ask Tony Special a quick question? Tony, is IDOT considering to widen Route 30 to 4-lane from here, from Municipal out to Dugan Road?
Yes, they're currently conducting a study
Okay, and then will they approach us about doing a pedestrian path, a multi-use path?
It's always included in the phase one.
Okay, and I would assume we could use funds to finance something.
And I do appreciate that, that should have been part of actually what I said, because I remember that being part of it, but yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
I believe Ryan, who ultimately may need to drop out of the meeting at this point in time, Ryan, is that accurate?
That is correct. I have another meeting I have to go to for work. But I do appreciate you guys allowing me to join the call, and I'll follow up with you, Brent, most likely tomorrow, and just get caught up on the rest of the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, guys.
Bye. Do we need to make note that he is?
Noted.
Okay. Okay, because I know that would be an expense that would be something that we've long sought, is a connection between the far west side of the village to town. Thank you, sorry.
Sure, no. And then, if there, now I'll simply just take any questions that you have regarding the plan itself.
I got one stupid question.
Absolutely not.
There's a vacant square, is that Indigo Drive?
This real little tiny guy right here.
Yeah, what is that?
Oh,
That's not the lift station.
Well,
That's the lift station?
It is the lift
Okay,
station.
that's, okay, good, all right. Just-
but that brings up a point, if we do extend sewer out to Arrow Industrial Park,
Okay.
does that lift station need to be
No, because
resized?
it serves our TIF district area, and so that's not going to be an issue.
Okay, but would that need to be resized, that lift station, or is it sized to accommodate?
There's a service area to it, so if you extend beyond the service area, there's some capacity built in.
Is there? Okay. I'm not sure if Arrow Industrial Park was included. No, this is primarily just a residential there in Prairie Glen.
This one. I
What
know there
was
was
size
some
for
area
that?
northwest corner of 47 too.
Okay. So that would be a major expense, but something that would be TIF eligible.
Correct.
And that would allow, that would be a good use for the funds that are going to coming from that commercial area. Okay. Any other questions for either Keith or staff regarding TIF 2?
I can maybe go to the next steps if you wanted, just to
Yeah,
kind of
if
clear
you
everything
would.
up before you guys went on to part G. But where we are in the process, it's partly, the process generally takes 4 to 6 months, just by statute. And so that's kind of one of these things, once you open it up, you kind of want to make sure we get it right. That's kind of how we find ourselves here. But on November, provided everything goes well tonight, what would happen is on November 19th, or your next village board meeting, we would ask that you pass an ordinance establishing a public hearing. I won't be here for that, but literally it's an ordinance that just declares January 7th, 2019 as our public hearing date. That we've got that proposed for 5:30 p.m. So it would be held right before your normally scheduled village board meeting. After that, what we would do is call a meeting of our taxing districts as well, which that meeting is scheduled, which we don't actually formally call that until after we pass our ordinance, but we're looking at December 5th. For that meeting, where we simply talk about the amendment process with our taxing districts. What we'll also do with that meeting is hold our annual joint review board meeting as well. And we were talking at 3 o'clock, that would be, well, sure if that would work for you. So literally just talk all things TIF with our taxing districts. Like I said, I don't expect us to.
And we've done that in years
Absolutely,
past,
yeah.
as part of the TIF.
Yep. So then we'd have our public hearing in January. We would have some notices go out in the newspaper just saying, one thing that we would also have is we'll post notice in the newspaper saying it's our interested parties notice. So anybody that wants information about the TIF can sign this registry, and we will then give them any information that they would like regarding the TIF process, TIF plan, which they can do the same beforehand. We have that. And so that's generally the process, and we're looking to adopt them later January.
Okay. All right. Good stuff.
All right, very excited. Thank you for, I just,
No, I appreciate it.
yeah,
No,
let
it's
me
good
be
to
thorough with you guys.
Yeah, no. It's a good report. Did anybody have any questions regarding the report? I think this is, you know, a finance tool to help attract businesses to town, realizing that there's some very expensive fees that need to be paid to develop any of this property and a lot of development costs that go into it, so.
I think it helps out current businesses too, current businesses that we have west of us. To, if we can connect this and help them get the resources they need to expand out there.
Is fiber optic services, extending fiber, is that a utility?
Yeah, it's a goal and objective, it's part of your plan, yes.
Okay. Okay. So we have a presentation. May I get a motion to approve and place the amended TIF plan feasibility study on file for 10 days and to approve the sending the TIF plan feasibility study to all affected tax buyers. So
Motion.
first by trustee Herron, second by trustee Mentalto. Any requests or any discussion? Hearing none, roll call please, Cindy.
Trustee Heron,
Aye.
trustee Mendoza,
Aye.
trustee Conan,
Aye.
trustee Lindsay,
Aye.
trustee
Aye.
Motion carries.
See you guys soon, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's good. Thank you. Okay. Motion to approve the announcement of the 2019 property tax levy.
Motion.
Proposed property tax.
Second.
Anything on this, Matt?
So this is just the announcement of the actual amount. At the next meeting, you will approve, again, just like the TIF, just setting a public hearing date, which will be the first meeting in December. So this is just announcing the amount which you have to do statutory. And then you'll set a public hearing and then actually have a public hearing and approval in the first meeting in December.
Okay.
So, just kind of quick, I know in the past, about 2 years ago, we were budgeting for SSA 10. We do still have reserves, so we are not levying any taxes again this year for that, for that SSA.
Okay. Do we have any plans to do any of that, any work over there? No. Do we?
Well, it's just the, right now, we're back to the normal maintenance of the detention basin back there. It's all the repairs are completed.
Okay. It looks pretty overgrown, so I didn't know if we have a burn scheduled for next spring or anytime. If you take a look at it. Okay. All right. Any questions, Matt, regarding the announcement?
Yeah, I always have those.
Sure.
So, and I'm well aware that we all, the village needs money. But it's hard to look at this every year and say, okay, it's gonna go up, it's gonna go up, it's gonna go up, and the taxing burden falls on all of us who live in the village. So, you know, and I get the whole idea of once you let it go, you let it go forever. But from what it sounds like, it looks like it's a $40,000 increase, over what we took in 2019, for, I guess it would be 2018, so.
Right, 2018 tax year.
So, I guess I just ask the question of all of us is, where does it end? I mean, we're turning away businesses that could potentially bring in some revenue and saying, we don't care, go to a different village, and oh, by the way, we have to add additional property taxes to it. So that's where I have a problem. We're pulling from all of our pockets to pay these bills, but we have viable options and we turn them away. And that's our job. I got on this board with that sole focus of saying, I get it, our taxes are high, let's get some business in town. And so when bringing up an opportunity, we might not like what those businesses are, but gaming facilities, we have gaming in town. You're only allowed, what, five machines? But some of the board doesn't want that either. And I get it, it's not the most attractive stuff, but developing our town and a good town to me is made up of all sorts of things. And I just have a hard time going to the residents and saying, yeah, we turned down another business, but oh, you get to pay for it. So I don't want to have a $40,000 increase. I don't know what the right answer is, but to keep going after the residents that live here and saying, you keep paying the bills, why we don't accept other business, is not something I want to do.
Okay. Any other comments? Everybody? Roll call, please.
Trustee Martolka. Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Lindy. Trustee Cook.
Aye.
Trustee Cook.
Nay.
Motion carries.
Okay. Discussion items, meeting minutes?
Okay, this evening we are taping in two various forms. I just want to put that up there, so which one's gonna sound better, because this room is not real conducive to a meeting, especially with everyone talking. So, what I'm looking for is some clarification, because it's been discussed a lot, in the past couple of months, the presentation of the minutes. And, so in order to clarify for myself and for the future, so people know what they're looking for, and get clarification from the board as to what you're looking for in the minutes. So, I'm not used to talking because I'm not clerk and I'm sitting. So basically, the minutes should always reflect, who's at the meeting, who's absent. We have to know now who's physically here, who's here via phone or Skype or whatever, yes. Where the meeting was held, what time of the meeting. That the minutes from the previous meeting were approved, we have to note that. And all the motions that are made and the vote that goes with them. And the hours, when the meeting began, when it adjourns. So what we're looking for is like we're suggesting is that the minutes remain very basic. So this evening, we're trying to say, okay, we can put little time marks out there to show what someone's reading the minutes. I can make a note saying, go to this time of the recording, which is here. The board reports are always online as well, and then they're there for years. Meeting minutes and recording, we're not recommending that we keep those on the web for a long time. We're gonna have to monitor space, and we don't want to end up paying more to store, larger files out there. We'll keep them on file in the village. Recommendation is 18 months, which is what state statute requires. Closed session recordings to be kept. So, and also adding that the names of the board members will be put in discussion if you so desire. So what we're asking is that we want to record all the minutes of the meetings. The minutes will be kept simple. We will mark on the minutes. Hopefully this is working correctly on the other recorder as to what time discussion started, and then the person if they're interested in hearing the discussion on TIF, jump to that portion of the recording without having to listen to all of them. If it doesn't work, they'll have to listen to all of them, but we're trying to put that in. Doing so in the minutes will most likely cause a delay in the presentation of the minutes. State statute requires that I submit them to you no more than 30 days after the meeting. So it can't go any longer than that. Typically, I try to present the minutes the meeting after, so they're still fresh in your mind. But it may be 2 meetings after, depending on how much time it takes to delineate the minutes. We're, of course, we can jump to it. So we're just asking for clarification on what the board would like to see.
Will the audio be posted on a blog or a YouTube, or is it just a file where you can download it or?
We're thinking YouTube, it'll be whatever is easiest for staff, so it'll be some kind of audio file,
Okay.
more than likely a WAV file that person can easily open on their computer.
In talking with our website people, it depends on how large they are.
Okay.
But as soon as we have a sample tonight, we can see which one, what we need to do, and then they can tell us how we need to fit.
Okay.
But it's a space issue on our website. And then there's also a second party, that we could get, but that entails a cost. YouTube is free, however, you have to convert it to an MP4, and put a picture with it, and I don't quite know how to do that right now. So we have to see what we can do with the tools that we have.
Okay. And we're not videotaping it any longer?
No, that didn't
Okay.
really work out too
Okay.
well.
No.
The room is, yeah, it's not soundproof, it's kind of weird,
Okay.
just you guys sitting there.
No, I don't blame you.
Not that we don't like you, but it's just, you can't really like pan to the speaker or, like when we're talking around, any staff doesn't really pan, so you guys are just sitting there.
So the whole discussion about the tip would have been you all looking that way, and just kind of not.
Okay.
It's a lot.
Just, if I understand correctly, the police city of Naperville does it this way. I'm assuming there's probably others, but I think
So-
somebody had mentioned that that's.
Right, they actually have it codified, what is in, what should be in their minutes is part of the municipal code. Their minutes are clear and concise, but they do have audio or video recording. They have a whole, but they have a production, system on hand, and, they're a little bit above what we have the capabilities for. But yes, this is the way that they do the minutes.
Thank you, because I forgot that part. We would be amending code to change it from the clerk shall keep a journal to the clerk shall keep minutes and recordings.
And I think there's another community that does audio recording as well.
Oswego,
Yeah.
Oswego does audio, so.
Yeah, well, I know they do audio, but like I said, it's the insertion of,
Yeah, I don't know if they do.
like I said,
that.
Naperville is, we're gonna try it, otherwise they're gonna have to listen
I
because.
thought Yorkville did something similar with the timestamp as well.
It's really a house skill can we get in hopefully, because it's not really within my skill set right now, but we're learning.
Okay.
Well, not only that, but since I produce the minutes, it's not my skill set either. But we shall learn also how to do it, without wasting, too much of our staff time.
I think that's key. I think we have to understand that we are a village of 10,000 people when our staff is limited. We're not a city like Naperville with 160,000 people and unlimited staff. So we don't want to overburden staff with this, but it's important to get the information out. But it's also important for residents to take some responsibility for obtaining the stuff. And if we have it on the web, audio-wise, and if they want to listen to it, they can go and listen to it. I think the minutes being, so every little word has to be added and stuff is just overburdening on the idea of the minutes is, are we following Robert's rules of order? How are we voting on things? Who's here? That kind of stuff. And the little details, we could put some of the details in the minutes that, if people look at it and go, okay, I'd like to know more about this, they can go and listen to the audio. There are steps along that audio to click on it so they're not listening to an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours of business stuff they're not interested in. I think that's a good step in the right direction. As we get bigger, we can improve upon it.
Have we reached out to high school? For, this is, I only teach 5th grade, so it's beyond my students' level, but it's close, as far as what they can do. This would be a STEM project all day long.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's what they're looking for is real world projects. How does how do the standards that, that we teach, how do you present that real world scenario, situation? And this, I would do all day long as a high school teacher.
Yeah, I mean, we could ask, I myself, I don't know how other staff members feel, am hesitant. I don't think any of you were here back when we built our first website. I know Sean was, and they had reached out to the high school to help us with that. And the students began dropping off, and then when you get, a new class in, then you have to bring them back up to speed as to what's going on. Some
Yeah, it's a
people,
problem to turn over.
Darn kids keep
Kids are
graduating.
changing. The semester's over and now we gotta start all over again.
Another concern would be equipment. A lot of places that bring in high schools have cable franchises, and they have audio equipment and video equipment that we really don't have access to. Otherwise, the kids would have to bring the video equipment in all the time. And so we thought about that, but just with our limited resources, it didn't seem like it might be the right fit.
Any other comments?
Public comment, or you're talking about?
Sure, yeah.
reports? Yeah.
Are you talking about minutes?
Yeah.
And you're pointing at me?
I'm just asking and that, share the room.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to single anybody.
Between there? Right, between, the aisle of the seat.
No, honestly, it was, you guys have been great in participating and we want to make sure we get the input. I think it's a work in progress and we can see how it goes.
One other thought on that though is there are people that are a little hard of hearing. So even if you're in this meeting, and I'm just starting with a little tinnitus, can't always hear every word that's said in context and meaning and so on. So if you can go back in and listen at your own place, turn up the volume, which I have to do sometimes, then you can really get the full input and the meaning of everything. Segmented minutes or only partial truths. I mean, you really don't get the whole picture.
Sure.
So I'm just saying that's another thing to think about, and I'm sure there's people over at the old folks home over here, somebody that might take interest if they knew what was going on.
Okay, any direction for Cindy? She was asking for some direction.
I definitely want the audio put on if possible.
we definitely will, it's just linking it to the minutes and it'll take a while, but the audio will be available. Can't say it's gonna be great quality, but we will start making it, we will look at it and see how we can edit it without spending hours and hours on it.
Okay.
So we'll be back in
Well, we
the-
add this to the agenda for, I guess in January, maybe the second meeting in January. Do we have 2 meetings in January?
Yes, there are no holidays that screw us up this year.
I know we're meeting on the 7th,
Yes.
and then I don't know if we meet 2 weeks later, the 21st.
We should be able to get it
Oh.
to you soon.
Well, yeah, but just to reevaluate how things are going.
Okay.
Yeah. Just to,
So next meeting, we will present an ordinance updating.
okay. Unless we wanted to hold off until next calendar year to make sure that people are good with what's being presented and we don't make any other
Yeah, rather than try to figure out a specific date, let's just get the audio file out there, and
Yeah.
with the timestamp on it, see what we think.
But I do want to bring it back for review.
Right, yeah, if we can turn it around quickly, great, if it takes us till January,
But-
it's great.
That's not the point. The point is to reevaluate how it's working, to make sure that we don't want to come back and make some further modifications to time stamping or say, we need the video, we need something else, and I don't want to come
So you
back
want it
with.
for discussion before the ordinance comes back?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we'll have the minutes out there before the discussion.
We better, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's only to evaluate how things are going before we pass a formal ordinance, materializing everything. reports, questions for staff? When's the first cookout on the new grill?
We picked up high yesterday.
Did you? I don't know if everybody read, but the police department was presented with a smoker or a grill from Sugar Grove Ace Hardware. So congratulations, and that was very generous of Mark Driscoll and his staff over at Ace Hardware.
I have a question for PW, I don't know if Brad or Tony would know. I saw the state out this week going down 47, it looked like they were taking core samples out of the street. You know anything about that?
No, I had no.
There, I saw them all the way down by Blackberry Inn, and then I saw them right in the stretch between Galena and Cross Street going south, and they had like 3 or 4 trucks, and they had something shooting water, and it looked like a, you know, a core thing going down in the street. I didn't know if they were checking to see the thickness of the street along 47 or what.
No, I had no prior information on any of their activities on that.
How's the Hankus Road Bridge pavement holding up? No signs of.
Nothing yet.
Yeah, good. All right. We've only salted once, right? So. All right. I want to compliment Public Works. They're being proactive on replacing the street lights. It's good to see that out. They've done some drive-arounds, I think at night and again in the morning, to identify street lights that are out, and especially with daylight savings time ending and back to regular time. It gets dark out a lot earlier, so it's good. So if anybody does have a street light out that might have been missed, or maybe one that cycles, stays on and goes off, the guys could have missed it in their drive-by, but send a request order to a service request on our webpage, right? Okay. And then any word on Camp Dean Road? Are we doing anything there this fall?
Well, the actual project that we're considering is going to be next spring.
Okay, we haven't heard. What's
Correct. The company that we contacted, the money came through too late. Those companies have quit for the season already. With the weather that changes rapidly, they usually quit. So that part, and there is some little bit of pothole filling from our staff, in addition to I believe some of the businesses out there.
Well, what are we looking at doing? Chip seal or cut out a portion of the road and repaving it?
Chip seal.
Chip seal, okay. And what about the potholes there? Do you go in and put in coal patch or some type of patch and then chip seal over those?
That's what DEI is working on for next spring, that part of it. But yeah, we do temporary pothole patching as time and material allows.
And have we done, I haven't been out there in,
We've been
what,
out there.
2 weeks?
We've been out there, yesterday, a little bit, and today.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
There's still more to do, but we've worked on it.
It's got a lot of work to be done on it.
We put around 7 tons out there today, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Must be, and they're cutting out a fair amount of patch or,
No, we're just patching it, throwing it on with hot mix. It's the best
And-
you can do, you can't, there's really nothing to grind.
okay,
Yeah.
Just nowhere to stop,
okay,
so.
okay. All right. Any other questions for staff? Okay. Trustee comments? Rick?
Actually, nothing this time.
All right. Sean?
Parent teacher conferences, Thursday, Friday off for kids. I think there was an email that went out. There's some confusion about Friday. Kids are just off Friday. That's it.
Are you on Monday as well for Veterans Day?
Nope.
No. Okay. All right. Ted?
Chamber's gonna have their Veterans Day luncheon on the 14th, Thursday the 14th. That'll be over at the firehouse. So there should be a veterans program for that at noon.
Okay, great. Be good, and one day is Veterans Day. Heidi? Jen? All right. President's report was asked by Diane Baker to participate in Holiday in the Grove, which I think is December 7th. It's a Saturday, and if any of the trustees want to join me at the booth, I'll be there from 9 to noon. And it's a good way to just talk to residents that come by. I believe Tom Rowe, the supervisor, and Kirk Harris are going to be there as well, the assessor. So it's good to buy people coffee. Okay, any public comments?
How you doing?
Good.
Basically, this is spurred by the inconsistencies, rumors, and lack of knowledge on what has definitively been done with Crown and what that project and where it's at right now. I know they withdrew their petition, but there's rumors that they were trying to work with Elbert. There were rumors they're trying to buy land, to have a contiguous land contact to annex their property here. I don't have the inside information, maybe Brent knows more about that, but what I did do is look under the land use process, the governmental bodies and jurisdictions. These are the state statutes regarding municipalities, counties, and their abilities to control their jurisdiction. And I know it's a limited time, so it's kind of cut and pasted, so if I confuse you, ask me a question. But basically, it starts off making sure that you have a good, qualified, comprehensive plan. I believe we do, and we just updated that. The reason for the comprehensive plan is to be able to support the rationale for implementing the regulations that you want to protect your village and your area, so to speak, your zone. And within that, it says, on the other hand, courts have found that zoning classification that has no relationship to a comprehensive plan is suspect and may be invalidated as arbitrary and unreasonable without relationship to public health, safety, and welfare. So and there was plenty of testimony by people at the zoning hearings, qualified expert testimonies, doctors, CPAs, and ecological experts that can confirm the fact that air quality is subject, the aquifers, water supply may be subject to a problem for the zone or Crown development or development of that size. There are agencies that can come in and do studies ahead of time to do air quality studies and all of these studies. So it's important to have those to defend that right as opposed to coming in after damage is potentially done. And I'm just saying this is a defensive approach, but at the next meeting, I'll have a list of names, contacts, and agencies that are willing to do these studies so we could possibly have something on the record. It says also here, municipal official comprehensive plan may also be necessary for municipality to defend its boundaries from erosion through disconnection. I know the other part of it was Crown was talking about de-annexing from us in order to try to come through Elbert. I don't know what the status, I believe there hasn't been a filing yet, but that's a concern of people out there. It says in order to accomplish this, however, the petitioner must prove, among other things, that after disconnection, the growth prospects in plan and zoning ordinances, if any such municipality, will not be unreasonably disrupted. So that implies to me on statute that even if they were to disconnect, that we would still be able to control the zoning and the variances they asked for, the height of the building, everything else that was in question in their presentation and in the zoning presentation. Next point of importance is that the most important of the control is the zoning and subdivision regulation. It says the manner in which such plans are implemented and the types of regulation will impact on developers' activities. Again, I assume that those measures have been taken, steps have been taken within our plan and our zoning regulations to be able to control any unwanted issues that may arise from that. It also says that state law requires that subdivision plats required under Illinois Plat Act 765 ILCS is first approved by the city council or board of trustees for land locating within a city village or in incorporated town or within contiguous territory affected by an official plan of such municipality. So you still have control over the plat and changes in plat structure. And this is one of the key things that the municipalities are authorized to exercise their planning and subdivision powers for a distance of 1.5 miles beyond their corporate limits. And I've raised this issue at least 2 or 3 of the last 6 meetings, the 1.5 mile zone. Sorry? Oh, I thought Joe asked a question. No? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. It says this, within 1.5 miles, this authority is exercisable irrespective of whether the county in which the subject site is located has adopted zoning ordinance or subdivision regulations. And again, with the county, another rumor was that they were going to try to go through the county and access it that way. However, counties cannot do TIFs, and they said they would not do the project without a TIF. So I believe that would be probably false accusation that they would try that, but anyway. And it says the obvious area of conflict between county and municipal planning and subdivision regulations has been resolved in the favor of cities and villages. So basically, the municipal code provides that if a municipality has adopted a comprehensive plan covering unincorporated areas such as unincorporated areas within the 1.5 mile extraterritorial sphere of influence are exempt from the application of any less restrictive rules or regulations by the county. So whether Crown is gone or not, I don't know. Personally, I would like them to be gone. As far as the warehousing development, I think there was a pretty strong community outcry for that. But all I'm asking is that we have our ducks in a row in case they do come back through legal process or however they may try to. I mean, they've got deep pockets, they've got a lot of money. So we don't know what they may do, but if we can be defensive in nature for minimal cost, it makes sense to me to do that. Last thing, as far as the tax levy, you know, I don't know if it's $40,000 is the amount they're talking about. I would think that you could find $40,000 within the budget by cuts or whatever. That's from now to the end of the year.
No, it's for each fiscal year.
Oh, 40,000 per year?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I noticed the other thing is that on my utilities, city utilities, I used to call it just a water bill, because that's what it used to be. But in May of 17, I think we added 4 line items on that, and it increased the average, well, anybody that's on city water hookup increased their fees by 35 to 40%. So, and I know some of them are for water, sewer maintenance, road maintenance, a couple of other things. I didn't bring the bill with me, but what are those funds being used for? Are there any excesses from that apply to the general fund, or is it specifically a line item for what's on there?
Water and sewer fees go to pay for the water and sewer funds and services that we perform. Then garbage pays for garbage, and then instead of raising the reducing the waste disposal fee, we took the savings that we generated from a new contract and put it into our roads because
that was $5.25, which was, and then like I said, right after that, I remember getting the letter, and then right after that, there was 4 line items added that didn't use.
I think what we did is we broke out previous things that were lumped together as opposed to.
Okay, well, my bill went from $63 a month up to $96. so something happened, but that's okay, I just wondered if.
Yeah, we've not done, any significant increases where it raised that much. It's been 6.5% at
I'll have to
tops.
go back and look at my other
Yeah,
bills.
If I could jump in real quick, just to make sure that it's not something that you're using water that you don't know you're using, like a toilet's leaking or something.
No, I called and went
We
on.
all we've done is we've kind of we itemized the bill, because my water bill really hasn't changed.
No,
And I
mine
know-
isn't, my gallons per usage.
I had an issue with my mother one time, a couple months ago, said, "Boy, my water bill doubled." And she's like in Aurora, but I went over and she had 2 toilets that were just leaking a little bit. It was enough to double her bill for the
No,
month.
I checked all that stuff,
All right.
so. And then the last point on the tax levy is, I know, do you guys, does what the school board gets from the county have any variation on what you guys get for money from the county, or is that all separate, segregated funds?
It's all set.
Okay, because I know that they're talking about decreased enrollment, and they're only at 60% utilization right now in some of the classes, so I didn't know how that might impact. The other thing is to look at some cutbacks, salary, people, whatever. I mean, you know, depending on what the needs are. I'm just saying that in finance, you either make more money or you cut costs. It's the only two things you could do.
We're pretty much
On
done
both.
that over the last 10 years. Our staff is down to bare minimum. We've cut a number of employees.
Yeah.
Police department used to have a number more, our finance department had more.
Yeah.
We're operating basically at,
Bare
if we
bones.
cut any more people, we gotta start cutting services.
I think it's listed in our CAFR. Do we have a-
It is, from the recession, you're down about
Did-
10 full-time employees.
At our,
From 2009?
Yep.
Okay.
yeah, we're down 20, how many?
10
25%?
full-time equivalent.
Yeah, which was about 25%.
Just an idea, like I said, I mean, I'm a finance guy, so those are just things you throw in, I'm sure you look at that stuff.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other
Thanks for
public
the
comment?
time.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to speak about Crown. Seeing as maybe it's the only game in town, and I'm sure you talk to people on Snow Street or Maple or Maine or Grove, or that probably wouldn't mind Crown coming in. Few warehouses, whatever. People that are probably making under $40,000, $50,000 a year, don't look at things like warehouses and trucks as a bad thing. So I understand you've had these public hearings. I think the attorney that was hired from DeKalb was paid for by people outside Sugar Grove or Sugar Grove County or Sugar Grove Township. I think you had a lot of people speaking against it that were not even village residents. So I think if you look at the overall picture of Sugar Grove, I think there's people that would like to have a broader tax base, and you don't seem to be able to get it. I've lived here 59 years. Barb and I moved in November of 1960, so we've lived here long. I've never opposed growth. I've never once opposed any building or anything. I'm not generally in favor of Crown, but it seems like that's the only game in town. It's the only one that's brought anything to us. They've looked at this property and held on to this property probably 20 years. So they, you know, unless you can find something else that's going to broaden the tax base like they can, I think you ought to do it. If you can't do it, turn it over to Elvin. They're a progressive bunch. They'll figure out a way to make it happen. I'm sure they're not going to worry about the trucks or the warehouses. But, like I say, I'm not greatly in favor of trucks and warehouses, but that seems to be the only thing on the plate. If that's the only thing on the plate, then deal with it, live with it. Negotiate something that includes that brings you something else. It doesn't have to be all warehouses. It can be other things. But somebody's got to get off their butt and start realizing things have to happen in this town. You know, the school district needs money, the village needs money. Nobody has any ideas. So, you know, I'll be the bad guy and say, you know, if that's what it takes, do it. Because I don't care.
There you go.
Okay.
I've lived here for 59 years. I've been on the school board.
Please
I've
address
been involved with this village a
Mr.
whole
Wolf.
lot longer than you have.
Mr. Wolf, Mr. Wolf, would you please address the board?
Well, if he's going to interrupt me, then I'm going to take him on, because nobody picks a fight with me and gets away with it. Okay? If he wants to pick a fight with me, anytime.
Thank you.
So, all I'm saying is, we elected you people to do the job. You're supposed to represent the 9,000 people in this town, even the infants. You don't have to listen to outsiders. I may not be a financial person, but I've been around a long time.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other public to address the board?
Just can't help myself.
Okay.
7:59, I was gonna just make it through the night. So, just to the point between the two men and what was voted on tonight and where we stand as a town, and to Jen's point, so we're looking at a tax levy. You know, I know the school's gonna be asking for money. I'm gonna be watching my property taxes go up. We're turning down business that hasn't even materialized here yet. I'm not gonna speak on the Crown thing because I know that is, we don't even know what that is. What as a village are we going to do to bring business in? Because if our village, you know, whether it be the community development director, if nobody's gonna go out and seek business to bring here, then none of you can complain about your property taxes ever again. Because now we're gonna have a tax levy. And for a resident in Sugar Grove, not an outsider, I don't know how much more I can take my property taxes. So, do we have a plan for going out and looking at businesses? I understand that there's restrictions and there's property owners and farmers want this much money for their land and all of the same old things. What are we going to do as a village to bring in businesses? Because you can't just keep asking residents for their money and then decide that you're not going to do cannabis, you don't want to be gambling, you know, God, you know, help us if, you know, a gentleman's club comes in. You know, I hear those stupid things that other people have been saying. But what are we going to do as a village to bring businesses in here? Because you can't keep coming to the residents for money.
Well, I guess my response to that would be that we seem to, as residents, be picking and choosing what types of businesses we want.
Not true.
Crown, like Mr. Wolf said, Crown was a viable option to negotiate with.
That is one.
And that's one we don't want, even though they bring in money. But
They
some
weren't
people want
bringing in
marijuana sales,
We need
so
tax,
that's
we
one
need
we do.
sales revenue.
Excuse me, I'm just responding to your question.
Well, I wasn't finished.
Okay,
So you're
you're
talking over me.
Go ahead.
I said outside of Crown, because that is up in the air, if I'm correct. I mean, Brent, correct me, have we heard from Crown?
We have had no discussions with Crown about their project in the village of Sugar Grove. I don't want to say that we haven't heard from them because I have reached out to them every few weeks to see if there's anything going on, and the answer is, at least as far as Sugar Grove is concerned, no.
Okay, they're not interested in building homes or residential development?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, they're not interested in doing any kind of restaurant, you know?
To my knowledge, they would be to my knowledge, they would be interested in virtually anything they thought was viable.
Mhm.
And to my knowledge, that their belief remains that the only primary use they believe is viable would be distribution warehouse type development with maybe some relatively minor other uses, but the other uses would not be enough to drive development up there.
Okay, so if warehouses is the only option, Rick,
It's not.
then
It's not. I'm just saying, we seem to, as a,
on the Crown property, if warehouses are the only option there, then you've got a town of people that you can answer to on that.
it is
I'm
not
talking
the
about
only option
out, excuse me, I'm talking about outside of the Crown property, as a village, what are we doing to bring in businesses with sales tax, with revenue, so that you don't keep coming to residents for their property taxes? This is not an issue of, well, you didn't want Crown, so you get nothing, because that's what it feels
That's
like.
not what I'm saying. There are other options for the Crown property.
And that's according to
That's
Crown.
one that our staff has been working on. We try to negotiate with stuff like that. The only thing we turned down was marijuana. And there's no guarantee we get that because the state's only allowing so many
Absolutely.
licenses throughout the state.
Absolutely.
So.
But now it's not on the table,
And
so
as
that's
far
fine.
as, and I would like, Matt, if you could jump in and explain what the vote was tonight for the announcement of proposed tax levy. This is something we do every year. It's mandated by the state. We did not vote to raise taxes tonight. We voted just to announce what the levy is. It's
You know
set
what,
by the state.
I'm just kind of piggybacking on trustee Cohen, and Matt, you don't have to do that, because you know what, Rick, this is public comment time.
Okay.
So my
Well,
comment
you asked
is.
a question, I'm just responding.
No, I wasn't asking a question
Okay.
about, give me an answer, Rick, on your opinion of Crown and how the people didn't want it. I'm saying, what are we going to do to develop Sugar Grove so that we can move forward? And Crown is not even in discussion right now.
Any
So-
other comments?
My only comment would be, do we have somebody that is working on this within our village? Is that Walter's role to seek out businesses?
It's Walter's department. He works as a staff member that does.
Okay, because every time we bring this up, it's like restaurants don't wanna come here, big box stores aren't viable anymore, which they're not. Okay, we're told that all of these things don't want to come here. We have to think outside the box, and what do we
I
want to
think
do?
we've seen two presentations, one by Mr. Cope on his 170 acres
Mhm.
on the east side of 47, and we had a presentation by a gentleman that was looking at purchasing
And he
40
pulled out.
acres.
And you pulled out.
Yeah, but there's other people that are interested.
Okay,
And Mr. Cope is pursuing finding a developer. So. And then our staff members, we've talked to Bear Development that did some things in here. So right now, I think we had a discussion months ago that, we have 2 acres that can be developed, we have 40 acres, we have 170, we have 760 acres. So we have all sorts. We're trying to find developers.
Well, even last month, you had seven acres, the, wedding venues, the 7 acres.
Yeah.
So,
So, yeah, we're working on things. Believe me, we meet with people to try to bring in businesses. It's expensive, and with the potential for a recession, you don't see a lot of businesses wanting to expand at this point. But we are working on it. And one is getting our wells in shape, and our roads, and our sewers. So we're working on it. And then having some financial diligence, and that was the TIF presentation that we saw tonight. So it's not one individual thing, it's a bunch of different things.
thank you.
No, thank you. Anybody else? Thank you all for being here tonight. Airport?
Report.
None, okay. And you need to go to a closed session? May I get a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, everyone.